Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Hey, what are you here for?
I've just been so tired lately.
You're wasting everyone's time. Yeah, you can't change me.
It
You will
wasn't-
never be able to change me. This is a waste of time if you don't try.
You know when you had those teachers in school where they're like, it's my way or the highway?
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fire and Rice Reheated. This is episode 7, I believe. It's been a while since we last uploaded. We'll get into that real quick. I got really sick, so we couldn't record anything. That's why we've been off schedule a little bit, but I'm feeling much better, and I'm ready to get back into the podcast because I don't know. It's been something that I was definitely looking forward to doing a lot of, and then I got sick, and then it was just like, I can't really talk. I feel terrible, but yeah, I've been actually enjoying doing these things, so I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
Good. Yeah, Jack got COVID, so
Yeah,
so
I got the vid.
But it's been going around lately. That, and I want to say another cold. I've been very susceptible to colds. I feel like I honestly feel like I've just had ongoing allergies / maybe an ongoing cold for a bit, and it doesn't seem to get better. I mean, it has, but then you go outside again and you're exposed to a whole bunch of people, and there's just illness in the air everywhere. And I think it's because we're coming down from summer and going into fall. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's definitely. I know for sure, like for us here, and especially during the time I feel like I was getting sick. It was like the hurricane stuff happening, and then like for us, that like is monsoon time as well, and so like the weather was a little bit funky. I know that, yes, like you said, there's stuff going around right now, just different illnesses going around, but I think the other thing too is like I know for sure, like I'm not super stressed, like I haven't been like overwhelmed really lately, which is really good, but generally that week that I got sick, I definitely did feel like I didn't get enough sleep. I wasn't I was doing a lot of work and just like not getting fully rested. So I kind of felt a little bit like run down. And that's why like when we, but the day that before I got sick, we had actually played Catan online. And I was like, I'm feeling a little bit like under the weather just because I felt like I was, like I said, just burnt out a little bit that week. And I thought, I just need to rest and then feel fine. And then by the end of our Catan, I literally had like a super fever. And then that was the end of the end for me. So, yeah, I think it's just like something's going around right now for sure. And just, I mean, I think I said this like episode 2 or 3 or whatever, but sleep, very important. I wasn't sleeping very much.
Yeah.
And definitely didn't help. But also, I believe, I don't know if this is true, but I believe I got it maybe from work. So somebody may or may not have gotten it too. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like the last few times that I've gotten sick, it's definitely been in times where I've gotten little to no sleep, lots of work happening, just a lot happening, a lot of stress, or even if it's not stress, it's just a lot of work. And so you're just in that, I guess, position to get sick easily. So, yeah. And honestly, I've heard of people getting sick I've heard that people started getting sick in July. So I feel like July, August, September. Yeah, it's just been an ongoing thing. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like, I mean, for you, I know that you've been doing a lot more work lately with around other people. Like it's not no longer are you just kind of staying at home. A lot of people are returning to their offices from working from home for so long. And so like, I know for us, it's like now I go to an office, and for our policy, it's like you have to show up now 3 days out of the week, which means if you pick the days that everyone else is picking, just like because you can pick them, right? It doesn't have to be like Tuesday through Thursday, whatever, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It doesn't matter as long as you just go in 3 days. Like if you somehow manage to pick the same days as everyone else, then the office is gonna be super full, and there's just gonna be like people that I don't know. People are kind of gross, is what I've learned too. It's just like, dude, I don't know what I don't know. Either your immune system is crazy, but some of these people are just filthy. It's kind of gross, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I hope that my immune system gets stronger because the majority of my life over the past couple of years, I've just been inside. And now I've just been seeing so many people all the time. And it just dawned on me that I'm working with so many kids, and those kids see a bunch of other kids when they go to school. And it's like if each kid goes to say, I mean, they all probably go to the same school, but if each kid goes to a different school and then they're in different classrooms and interacting with different teachers and kids all day long, and then I interact with them, I'm interacting with, like, if you multiply that by how many kids, I'm just bound to get sick. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, like I know for sure, just out of the core group of people that I like regularly work with, I mean, there's like a group of 8 of us, and then that's just our little crew, little section. But the rest of the office is what, like hundreds of people. Then, like you said, if you multiply that by however many, whatever their
However,
family
they're
count
seeing,
is, and
yeah.
yeah, like whatever they do, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're just, it's tough. So,
Yeah, when you think about
um,
it in that way, it's just like, oh, we're all interacting with each other. So many germs being spread.
yeah, I mean, I think we all changed a lot in terms of our like perspectives on things after the main pandemic thing.
Yeah, because
So,
I never really
like,
thought about sickness too much until, and so maybe it's a common thing that the whole end of summer, fall sickness happens, but I feel like this year I'm really noticing it, that
yeah,
everyone's getting sick, like so many
right.
people. So it's crazy. But you're all good now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty much like I feel like I'm 99% better. The last percent is like I feel like my taste has changed a little bit,
Mm.
and I'm just kind of waiting for that to like shift back because there's certain things that just don't feel like they taste the same. Definitely like coffee in particular has been the one that I've been calling out the most because I can definitely just tell right away that the taste of coffee is significantly different. And
Mm.
then certain like desserts or certain like certain foods feel like there's, maybe just saltier or something like that. Um, more sensitive. Like I feel when people talk about like, oh, coffee's super bitter and like gross and like tastes like dirt water. When I super had COVID, I like literally made a coffee because I was like, I'm so tired. I just need something. And I thought it would comfort me. And I took a sip and I threw it away. Like I literally just dumped it down the drain. It tasted so bad, so bitter. It tasted actually like dirt. And now I taste coffee again, but there's still this hint of like something's wrong
Mm-hmm.
that I know what it should taste like. That it's just, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it must be your nose, because I feel like nose has
Maybe.
a lot to do with taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see
yeah,
that. But
yeah. That makes sense.
I guess in other news, I know that for at least the time of filming, school is starting for most people. And so, or at least it's been started for a couple of weeks and whatnot. But so how's that going?
Yeah, I think I'm 4 weeks in or 5 weeks in of school, and so far it's going pretty well. I thought I was going to be on a strict schedule. I thought it was going to be really crazy. And honestly, it hasn't been that crazy. It's only when work has been kicking up that I've been like, oh no. So I wanted to be wary of getting too far ahead because I didn't want to, I guess, hinder. I don't know. I didn't want to do anything wrong by getting too far ahead, but now I'm realizing I'm in that position where I should get ahead because being on top of my school and then having to do work on top of that has been kind of hard. Like this past week was really, really hard for me because, well, I'm actually really glad that not everything that I started working on started at the same time. It's all just been kind of introduced one at a time. So I started working at a dance studio and I started doing school at the same time. So those were like two things, and I was like, great, cool. And then I started working the voiceover job that I just booked, and that's been nice because it's not consistent. consistently every week. It's just kind of like, okay, here's when we need you, and then we'll write the next episode, and then we'll get you for the next episode, and so on and so forth. So that's not really a set thing. But then I started teaching at another studio, and so I've been working 2 jobs plus the third that comes up, and then doing school on top of that. So that was my challenge this past week, and it was a little difficult because I think that I could have made it easier by getting ahead, but instead I was like on top of it exactly. So in a way, it didn't put me behind, but it made it a lot harder for me to make things go according to plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think the pros and cons to getting ahead on one thing versus not, because it does sound like if you have scheduled events such as teaching classes, or ahead of time, like, okay, I have to go and do a recording or whatever, then I mean, it's like how much does getting ahead really help if you look at it from like, okay, if you need to get ahead, that means that you need to have free time already. You need to know like your schedule ahead of time to be able to dedicate, instead of the 2 hours you're dedicating, maybe the 4 or the 6 hours of school. And then it's like, well, can you even afford all that? And should you? Because I feel like sometimes it would be nice to be able to like get ahead, but also what if you could use those like extra 2 hours just for yourself,
Well,
and just to yourself.
So that's where I shot myself in the foot, because I've just been taking my leisure time and being like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be okay. Once I get to the days that I have to work like crazy, like my Wednesday and Thursdays, this past week, my Wednesday and Thursday were jam packed, and so I kind of was like, oh, I'm just gonna relax, and everything's gonna be fine. And then everything fell on me on the Wednesday and Thursday / Friday / today, and so yeah, like for instance, I thought I was ahead and everything, and then it turns out because one of my classes is accelerated, it's going to take half the time. So as opposed to 15 weeks, it's 7 weeks, which means it's double the work each week. So we're doing 2 weeks worth of work in 1 week. And so I was like, okay, cool.
One, sure.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm ahead. And then I realized that I had a research paper due tomorrow, and I had to schedule an interview with someone. And it's like, how do you schedule an interview with someone with only a day left? So I emailed like 10 different people, and a few of them got back to me and said, no, it's too short notice. I'm sorry, so sorry. And then last night, by the grace of God and the universe, I randomly stumbled upon someone who just so happened to have a free 30-minute consultation this morning. So I woke up early, had my interview, so that I can do my research paper. Otherwise, I would have had to do 2 research papers and double up on the work even more so. So, yeah, things like that happen, and I'm like, oh no, I really should have gotten ahead of this, because now I'm behind, and things probably won't work out like that in the future.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, not to put like blame or anything, but I'm just thinking about like what could have prevented this. I mean, do you feel like you didn't have the organizationalness to like know ahead of time that your research paper was going to be due or whatever? Like, did you just somehow miss it, and that's what it is? You know what I mean?
I knew it was coming up. I just didn't think it was so soon. So when I saw the due date was on Sunday and it was like Tuesday, I was like, wait, what? I thought I had at least another week. Because at least in the module, the way that the lesson is planned, it talks about it as if we're moving through it at a regular pace. So if I was working on lesson 4 and the assignment was in lesson 6, I thought in my head, oh, cool, I've got 2 weeks to do it, when in actuality I had the next week for it to be due. And at the time too, I was also just kind of like, oh, I want to like go to the mall, and I want to go shopping, and I want to relax, because I feel like I've been working so hard. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna relax. And then little did I know that that work due ahead of the week. And it's not like something that I can just do the day before, because I've gotten away with doing stuff even a few hours before the due date because I know that it can get done. Whereas a whole research assignment with conducting an interview that involves another person requires time on
Yeah.
both ends. So that's where I thought, okay, that's where I messed up. But I did last week start reaching out to people. It just didn't pan out. So
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, like I said, it's not like as long as you're able to get it done, it's whatever. But I'm just thinking in terms of like, at least you're aware that, yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's just going to be more, balance and things to keep track of, and that's just part of what happens when you have all of these different things that you're trying to juggle. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's tough, but
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. But I don't regret picking school. So I've actually been learning a lot, and I've been having a lot of fun learning. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's really good.
For sure. It's funny because somebody had reached out to me just super randomly, like literally a stranger had reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm just curious about like your job and like your journey to get to where you are, because they found me through like a Colorado like alum type thing. So they're like, oh yeah, I'm going through school right now, and I was just curious if I could pick your brain on some stuff. And I just know like one of the questions they asked was like, oh, like what's the best advice you could give? And it's always such a hard question to answer, but I ended up just telling them like, you have to be really adaptable and willing to learn and always ready to learn, because there's just, at least in my field of just like software engineering and technology, it's like technology is always changing. So you have to be ready to learn the new thing and keep up with the times. Otherwise you fall behind, kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, I mean, just hearing that, yeah, you're excited to learn and stuff. I think it's really important, just because you can learn all this stuff in school, and then as the world changes, you have to be able to adapt and learn what is new, what is coming, in order to be successful. Otherwise, if you just stop, you're just going to get stuck and left behind. So
yeah, it's very true. And I think that oh shoot, I had like this, and I think I had this profound analogy and it just escaped my brain. It was something along the lines of you always just got to keep wanting to learn, and you should never stop. Like there should never be a moment in time where you think to yourself, okay, I've done enough, I can start getting lazy, I can stop trying. Like you should always want to try and just always hold yourself accountable in that way.
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's if you don't, then you, like you said, you don't regret doing whatever, picking school, or going to like taking the time for yourself, like, because that's all important. But if you just never try, then it's like, well, it's always the what if kind of thing, like what could have happened if you just don't attempt it. So
yeah, totally. I don't know if I brought this up the last time. I'm blanking, but remind me if I did. But I'm really just trying to work off of a growth mindset as opposed to a product mindset or results mindset.
Yeah, you didn't talk about this. This is interesting.
Oh, okay. So because, are you sure? Okay, wait. I'll explain.
If we did, it was off camera, but I don't remember it either way. Yeah.
Okay. So because I started teaching, parenting videos will pop up on my YouTube feed. And so I'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, because teaching is basically like being a parent. And I could always use more tips and tricks how to better teach children, because it's a whole other beast. Teaching like-minded individuals or like same age peers, it's different. It has its own challenges, but you're able to kind of communicate with them better. But communicating with children is a lot harder because it's been so much time in between since you've been a child that I think you look back and you kind of hold yourself to a higher standard. So, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Or it's the vice versa of you think that it just depends on how you looked at yourself as a kid, kind of a thing. If
Yeah.
you were a
Yeah.
child who couldn't really keep up or whatever, you might look at children as being like, oh, you give them easy stuff because children just need easy stuff. Whereas I go into it thinking, oh no, give children the hardest thing possible. But then if you give them the hardest thing possible, they're just going to get defeated because they don't feel like they can do it, you know?
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I got to find that balance of, okay, what do they need to grow and what do they need to succeed at this moment in time? But the thing that I realized was I watched a video and they were saying to praise growth over praising results. And they did a study where they had two groups of kids. One of the groups of kids, they said, oh, hey, you guys are so smart. You guys are the smartest kids ever. You did so well on your test. Good job. And the kids were like, yay. Whereas the other group of kids, they praised them on their effort. And they said, wow, you guys worked really hard on that test. That was a hard test. Good job. With both groups, they said, hey, do you want a harder test? And with the kids who they praised for their intelligence, they said, no, I want an easier test. Whereas the kids who they praised for their effort, they said, yeah, give us an even harder test. So it's like if you praise growth, kids are more wanting to keep growing and keep pushing their limits as opposed to praising results because it feels like, oh, I took so much effort to get there and that's kind of like my ceiling. That's my limit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Wow. No, it does. It does. But I'm
Yeah.
also thinking about I'm trying to think of like how that would apply to what I've seen too, just because it is I agree with it to an extent. And then I'm also thinking about a lot of I forget where I know for sure I've seen it in my personal life, but I've also heard like a couple of stories or anecdotes of kind of similar things too, where it's just like being told, I feel like being told that you're smart or whatever, like let's just use that as the example. Being told you're smart and you're just like the smartest person or whatever ends up leading to you trying a lot less.
Yes, that was the whole point.
Like most of the time. Yeah, right. And so like
Because
I'm
it's
thinking
the
of kids that
pressure.
like yeah, oh, I don't know. I mean, it's that, but it's also just like the complacency too. It's like I'm already the smartest, or I am already smart at this, so I don't really need to try as hard.
Totally.
And sometimes it's interesting because there are people who are just naturally gifted at whatever task it is, and so it's like, yeah, they can be the smartest kid, not try, and still just keep getting, straight A's, 2400 on the SAT or whatever it is now, 1600, and it's like I know people like that. I know people that just don't try, did not do anything, put zero effort into whatever, and just got into insane schools, like super high grades, like all this and that. And that's frustrating. But then on the other hand, you have people that maybe aren't as gifted and aren't told all the time that they're the smartest. But yes, I mean, they do end up trying really, really hard and they want to, like you said, grow. And I think that is also just as valuable too. So I think it just obviously depends on the individual that we're looking at, but generally, yeah, I do feel like just focusing on growth is pretty important. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm trying to implement into my teaching, but then also into my own life as a student. So
yeah, when you're doing I mean, I actually was curious about this, like, because I didn't know that you're actually at two studios or whatever. I only thought you were doing the one, but either way, like, what is that like? Because not that I'd never thought that you would be a teacher per se, but just like I knew that you would like guest teach, but I didn't think that you would try to do more of like
a resident teaching
I don't know.
position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so along with taking on school, I was like, you know what? Let me take on a regular job as opposed to just taking on the jobs as they come. Like, let me see what it's like to work week to week And I wanted to work at multiple studios because it is my first time being a resident teacher, and I wanted to get a feel for what it's like with different places, different kids, and different almost ownership as well. So, I mean, overall, I've had really great experiences at both studios. They're both far apart, not like far apart, but they're not close within each other. I wanted to get a feel for what it's like all around so that in the future I know, okay, cool, this studio's like this, that studio's like that.
Are you talking about in terms of like personality types and
Yeah.
learning styles and like how
Yeah.
you have to change yourself to work with these people? Okay.
Yes,
That makes
that's
sense then.
that's a better way to phrase it. In learning
Okay.
about more people and learning about more kids, it helps me become a better teacher. I feel like I'm an AI kind of just gathering information, and
Sure.
I'm like computing, and I'm changing my teaching style as I go. So teaching
Sure.
at multiple studios allows me to gather all the opinions that I can and go, oh, okay, so this is what I should do generally, but then this is what I should do for each individual studio.
I know for sure that is like at least what I have talked a lot about with some of the younger folks in terms of like communication skills within like the workplace, because we have like interns and we have like kids that are coming out of college that are getting their first job, and like I've been trying to work on this kind of almost like program of like what can we do to help the younger folks coming in terms of like just being successful outside of the coding, programming, like technical stuff that you need to know. Like what are the interpersonal things that you need to figure out how to navigate in the professional setting? And that's like one of the big things is as you go along and you interact with different people, you'll kind of pick up different habits and ways that like make communicating with each person effective, right? So there's certain people that are just always to the point. They're all business. They don't want to talk about their daily life, like their personal stuff. So you have to just be really focused and not kind of like dilly-dally in your conversations. You just get to it, talk business, get in, get out. And there are some people that like love to ramble and want to just talk about their personal stuff, and you have to figure out how to reel them in to get back on track kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And figuring out like, exactly that is just like what styles of either teaching or talking to people will get the best results. I feel like there's got to be a term for that, and I just don't know it, but I've always just said it's like the soft skills of communication and importance of like essentially reading the room kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a tough skill to learn, and some people just don't really get it, but and that's okay. It's just it's a really tough thing to navigate for some people. So
yeah, it's more of a social thing, because it's like the more people that you're around, the more that you learn, and the more people that you get to be around. And yeah, whereas like I used to have social anxiety because I wasn't integrating myself into different spaces and environments. And now that I am, I'm very, very comfortable with talking to people regardless of who they are, where we are. So yeah, it's just a social skill.
Yeah. That reminds me of something, and I feel like I might have brought it up like in our family time or whatever, but definitely not here. I touched on it briefly in like a couple episodes ago when I was talking about like my time in college and all that, and like how there was a certain group of people that really like shaped me at the very, very end, and like changed my almost like projection towards where I've come from to where I am now kind of thing. And we did this thing that it's funny because you call it like the social anxiety and all of this and that, and it's like a social skill and all that. We had this like website that we developed, and it was this really troll thing that we just called Social Dive. So it was like, I don't think the website's up anymore, but basically what it was we came up with a bunch of challenges and little like, if you think about it, it's kind of like those like old school prank videos, except they weren't videos. Like we were never going to film them. We weren't going to do anything. And we always made sure that it was never anything harmful or hurtful. It was always just like lighthearted type of stuff. But if you think about it at its core, it was kind of like those like prank things where it's like you go up to a random stranger and you like do something or say something. And so we had all these challenges that really push you to like a really uncomfortable place. But again, not in a harmful way or anything like that. But just like, you know, one of the challenges, for example, was just like go up to a random person and convince them that they know you. Like you have to have a conversation long enough to where they're like, oh wait, actually I think I do remember seeing you, but you don't know them at all. Or just like something else that's super similar of like, hey, find 3 random people and ask them to like hold you up. So like you're laying on your side and they're holding you, 3 random people that aren't in the same group. And it's like, and the thing was like, do that and then ask a 4th person to take your picture of that so that you could prove that it happened. And basically the idea was like, okay, do this, put you out of your comfort zone, find proof of it if you can, if the task allows, but then post it on the website, state the challenge, and then write an entire blog about it. Like just cool. Like a paragraph or 2 of like how you felt, how you felt before, during, and after kind of thing, because it like the self-reflection of like, I was so nervous and like this is really awkward and like there was like 10 people that I passed by that I could have asked and I don't know why I couldn't come up with the courage or whatever to just say it, because at the end of the day, who cares? Like that was the big thing, was like all of these challenges were like, who cares what the outcome is, because the worst they can do is just say, hey, I don't have the time, I'm busy, whatever. But if you did succeed, it, like I said, nothing was ever going to harm these people. If anything, they're going to forget about it the next day, or it becomes like a funny party story for them to talk about. Like, hey, this random kid just walked up to me and just asked me to like hold his bag while he started to like just plank and just like do the worm on the ground kind of thing. Like just random stuff. Like I can't remember all of the challenges. There were just like a bunch of random ones, but yeah, like the moral of the story was like all of these things made it so that we could feel a little bit more comfortable and kind of get out of the mindset of like who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that for sure was something that helped me get from like being super, super, super like socially awkward and like anxious and like quiet to at least a little bit more outgoing. Like I still don't find myself to be extroverted overall. Like I still do feel introverted by nature, but I have like a little bit more of capacity to have that like side of me when I need to, especially when it comes to like work, because it's pretty important to talk to a lot of people and network and stuff like that. So
did you participate in the challenges and the website then?
Yeah, and it was also a cool little exercise for us from like a technical perspective, because we had to like work on the website ourselves. So it was like a website we built.
Was it part of a school project or was it just a thing on your own? That's cool.
Yeah, just by ourselves. Yeah. And the cool thing was like, it was fun because it started out as like the 4 of us. And then we slowly started to not recruit, but like we told people that we were doing this, like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. Like I kind of want to do that. And so, you know, we had other people from our class and kind of circle just start taking part in it, just to kind of do it for fun. Because again, I think the idea too was, and I don't know if we put this in our mission statement, but it was just kind of like, we're coming from a group of computer science engineers that are studying, that are just like stereotypically nerds, you know, and we're not the people that are the business people that have to go out and make these deals, but we still want to like improve ourselves in that aspect of like networking and just feeling confident to communicate. Because otherwise, again, it's just like, are you able to adapt to your situations kind of thing, like I was talking about before. So
that sounds like an app that would do well today, like a social media type of app. It kind of reminds me of Be Real, only more options, more opportunities. You know, it forces you in the moment to do things, and then, you know, you can share it to people and talk about your experience with it. So that's something that maybe you guys should consider bringing back.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, because that was something that we had talked about too. Is like, oh, this could be an app where it was like every day it would send you like this is your challenge of the day, and if you complete it, you post about it. And then that's where we kind of got lost. It was like, well, what is the reward for doing it besides yourself? Like you have to incentivize users from an app perspective to like keep doing stuff.
Well, and then you
But
create like a character, and then you create like rewards, and then it's like, oh, if you get this many rewards, then you can unlock customization.
I mean, exactly. Like there had to be something, and like we kind of just got over that and just said, you know what? At the end of the day, we don't have that much time left here at school. We're just doing this for the last like semester kind of thing.
Right.
And it literally became just like a end of the semester because yeah, school was like still really hard and people, you know, were still trying to find their jobs and all that and interviewing. But at the end of the day, it was still like that whole senioritis type thing where you're just like, I want to do other stuff besides school. And this was our fun little way to.
Yeah, I think that it's a really great thing that sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I've just been so tired lately.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, if so, so you obviously have school, 2 teaching jobs, and a voice acting job. I guess out of those, how would you rank like the amount of energy that you have to put into each of them? Like what's the hardest? What's been the hardest? What has been like? Because I'm sure they're all equally hard, but like what drains you the most? Really, like after you get done with it, you want to just not do anything.
I mean, energy wise, it's definitely the teaching, because from 3 I teach from 3 to 9 on Wednesdays, and then I teach 4:30 to 4:30 to 9 on Thursdays, and having to do like that 2 days in a row, which means I have to prep whatever I'm going to teach in the days like coming, or the days prior. That just takes up the most energy and effort, because also I'm having to work with big groups of
People.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning a lot about how to manage kids and what they need. So I think that has been the biggest not energy, like I don't want to say it like drains me, because it doesn't drain me. I feel like after I've learned so much and I've gained so much energy from, oh, cool, I'm like absorbing all of this information. I'm like, got it. Okay, great. Then I'm going to try this for the next week and the next week and the next week. But it definitely takes up, I think, the most time, surprisingly, over school. Because school, I've just been able to fit in to wherever I can, as opposed to making it my main thing, which I thought everything else was going to revolve around school. But school has been the thing that I've been fitting into the free time that I have here and there.
And I think that makes a lot of sense because of the flexibility of the online or the, you know, the school from home kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you have to teach, there's a certain time frame that they're dedicating or slotting you in, so then you're committed to that. Then for voiceover, it's like you're told like you have to be here from, make up a time, like noon to 2 to do these recordings. So of course, like you're working under other people's commitment times, and then you can fit in your flexible school. So I think that makes sense. But I actually was thinking about like, okay, so you have to teach all these classes for 5 to 6 hours. Are you doing one? And okay, so 5 to 6 hours, that's multiple classes. I'm going to assume it's not one class of the same group of
No.
people for 6 hours. So you have multiple classes happening. Are you teaching the same thing at different levels based on like, if there's 5 to 7-year-olds, it's a little bit an easier version of the dance versus like 9 to 13 is a more intermediate, and then like senior kids are like, or whatever age they are is like a more advanced. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So one studio, I mainly specialize in contemporary and hip hop. And then the other studio, I do like lyrical jazz, technique, and contemporary. And I usually will start out with the younger kids. And then as the day goes by, I graduate to the high schoolers. So, and yeah, that's where the big learning part for me has come in, because there was one week where I realized, oh my gosh, I technically just taught a much harder combo to the little 9 to 11-year-olds than I taught to the teenagers. And why did I do
Mm,
that? I don't know why I did that. And
mm.
so the next week, I actually swapped the combos and thought, okay, let me just see what happens if I do this real quick and how well it's going to be received. And it was much better absorbed by both groups. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
sure.
odd. But I'm able to do that because I am doing relatively the same genres. It's just different groups and different levels and ages.
Yeah. So then is it still like, because I know that when obviously when you do a dance thing and you teach, like you have to at least you have to start off with like a song. Obviously, like you pick a song and then you start to choreograph to it. So then are you doing the same like, I guess it goes back to the question of like, is it the same song, three different levels? Like, okay, like for in Guitar Hero, for example, right? The way it worked was for easy, medium, and hard or whatever, it was easy was 3 buttons only, medium was 4 buttons only, then hard and expert were 5 buttons. Do you see what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
generally it was like easy mode, and then it was like expert is like you use all five and then you're doing like the same like idea, but it's just harder.
That is actually a really cool concept, and I've thought about it. I've thought about, hey, what if I just taught to the same song, but maybe a different part of it, or if I just did the same choreography just fixed to the level? But part of me thinks, oh, would they feel weird about that? I've gotten into a mindset where I really do choreograph for the group of kids that I'm working with. And that even includes the song choice. Because teenagers right now love, love, love Olivia Rodrigo. They don't want
Of
to listen
course.
to anything else but Olivia
Of course.
Rodrigo. And so
Of course.
that is what I've just been teaching to for the teenagers. But for like the little girls, right? I I don't there really are no songs to Olivia Rodrigo that would be considered appropriate for them.
Yes. Right.
So, yeah, I can't do that. Um Instead I've been picking things like Disney song covers of Hercules Go the Distance or I don't know, like Now I See the Light or Colors of the Wind by Tori Kelly. Like that is that is what I teach them. And then the 9 to 11-year-olds are a strange spot for me because they're on that weird age of either being like I want to be a teenager, but they're very much not teenagers. But also, yeah, it's that weird age of I think that they think that they're older than what they are. So I
Yeah.
got to give them something that's cool, not cringy, but still age appropriate.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the only
Oh,
reason why
okay.
I haven't done like that. But there are a few songs where I'm like, I want to use this for this age group or that age group and that age group. But maybe I'll split it up. So one week I'll go back and I'll teach to that song for them in their own fixed way. And so on and so forth.
Mm.
You got to change it up. You got to
Yeah.
mix it up because otherwise kids are smart and they start to catch on and they're like, oh, you just taught us what you taught them. Oh, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. No, I get that. No, that's interesting. So then that basically means though that you're coming up with, if you have, let's just say you have 3 groups, that means you have 3 songs, 3 dances that you have to prep for before going into that class.
Yes. So,
That's a
like,
lot.
I think I teach like 6 classes or something on Thursday or 5 classes on Thursday. And I come up with 5 different combos. And so, yeah, it's a lot. And when I'm
Yeah.
really tight on time, it's very hard. Because the other thing too is like, what's going to keep them interested? I can't just do the same thing every single week. And yeah, like I said, kids catch on. I look at it a lot like trying to implement vegetables into yummy foods like pizza. It's like,
Yeah.
what is their pizza? What is their ice cream? And how do I trick them into eating their vegetables and their fruits?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
That's what teaching is
Interesting.
like. Because if I just taught to what I wanted to teach to, if I just did the moves that I wanted to teach to, then I'm not really doing it for the kids. I'm just doing it for myself. And then they start to resent you.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a definitely that's where it's going to become again. It's just it seems like it's a work of balancing
Yeah.
and figuring it out. Because I feel as though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not part of this dance world, but there there's like it feels like when you watch, we've watched so many different dance groups over the years and stuff like that, and different dancers, and I feel like the style that's coming out of that person, and like if you watched the thing and you're like, oh, I know exactly who did this choreography because of these types of moves, you would think that the person that's choreographing is doing it obviously to the song, to the story, to whatever, but like their version of how they interpret the song kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the way I see it is that's for them. That's like their way of expressing themselves in the art form. So rather than like to whoever, like to whatever they're, I don't know what you just said. You said something about like for the kids basically.
Well, and so here's the
So
thing.
mm,
Here's my thing, right? If I'm choreographing for my own personal use, I get to do whatever I want because I know it's for me. If I'm choreographing on specific groups of people, I, in my opinion, think that I have to gear it towards them. But it's still my choreography. So it's still the way that I would
sure.
do it, but through their eyes in a way. Like now I'm learning who these
Yes, yes,
people
yes.
are. That way it's like, and that's why I've been getting really good uh, feedback because the kids are like, wow, it's like you're listening to me. And it's like, yeah, because I am, but I'm figuring out how to feed the things that I still want through your, I
Yes.
guess,
Yes, 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 yes,
lens.
yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
And so
yes.
it's like, I just recently did a video for Steezy where I got to do an Olivia Rodrigo song, and I was like, okay, cool. This is my own thing, and I want to do my interpretation of the song, and this is exactly how I hear it, and this is the way that I see it visually. So that's how I came up with the moves for that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that clears it up a lot because for a moment there I was thinking like, "Oh, you're not doing it. You're doing it for the kids," meaning like you're almost like hindering your own
Oh, like I'm
self.
sacrificing my creativity.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were saying, but no, that it makes a lot more sense. Okay.
It,
I
in
get
a
it.
way, it feeds my creativity because it gives it an added challenge.
Sure,
in
sure,
in a
sure,
way,
sure.
I view it as know your audience.
Exactly. No, no, and exactly that. Like you explained it the way that I was explaining the communication thing. Like it's literally just you that way yes, no, they feel the worth of going to these classes because it feels like you're doing stuff that they will either be able to succeed in doing or learn from, and still like you get to express the creativity but knowing basically it's the way I see it is like the strength of like if you're dealing with sports or video games or whatever and like you're in a team environment, you have to be as a coach and a captain, which you're the teacher, you have to be able to take the strengths and weaknesses of your team and be able to find out who can do what in what way so that the team succeeds. And yes, the dancing, is not necessarily as team oriented, but to an extent it can be.
But
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, you have to be able to know, what things help certain people succeed in the task at hand. So
yeah, in my opinion, it's the difference between a bad, a good, and a great teacher. It's like the bad teacher, in my opinion, a bad teacher just doesn't know what they're doing. A good teacher knows what they're doing, but they can't let go of their ego to listen to what their students need. And then a great teacher is able to listen, take it in, and then find that balance.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah,
when you
there's
had those teachers in school where they're like, it's my way or the highway, and then they just make you do the work, and then you're like, this isn't fun. Or you had a teacher that was like, made it fun, that could relate to you, but was still able to feed you the knowledge that you needed.
yeah, yeah. There's plenty of instances of that too, and that's what's really hard is in the professional world too. Like I said, you have to figure out how people communicate, and what is the effective way to basically teach them too. Like like I said, I've been working with some of the younger people, and it's like I'm trying to teach them the tool and the software that we have, but I need to find ways of like, okay, well, what's your background? Did you come from a programming background? If so, then I can relate these computer science terms to you, and it hopefully will make sense. And if not, then I have to think of like real world analogies to be able to say like, hey, this is, I can't use this is exactly a database, and these are the different like programming language concepts that you need to know. Like I can't just say that to a business guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, assuming that they don't know that stuff, right? So,
right.
And same thing with video games too. I've been playing in these like video game tournaments, right? And we've been talking a lot about all these strategies. And there was a time where I was coming up with like the playbook, so I had to think of, obviously in a video game, and especially like in the video games I play, there's stuff that we call meta, meaning it's the best and most optimal way to play the game at the highest level, and that's the key word, at the highest level, with the best players, with the best capabilities and all of that, right? If you play to the meta at a lower rank, then you'll never win, because those people at the lower rank don't know, they can't push themselves to the same skill ceiling. Mm-hmm. So you can't do that. You can't just say it works for these pro teams, so we're going to do the exact same thing, because you guys we're not as good. So I have to draft a playbook according to, hey, this player is good at this one thing and not as good at the other thing. So, and these are the 5 players that I have to work with. So how can we make sure that we win with each other's strengths and cover each other's weaknesses? Otherwise, you can't just copy paste, a pro level play into like a super low level. And it's no fault to, my teammates or anything. It's just like, that's just the nature of the thing. We're not there yet. We're not pros. Otherwise, we'd be getting paid all this money and we wouldn't have to be working our regular jobs. Like, so yeah, it's a very interesting concept of like coaching and teaching and all of this. It's a really, really interesting kind of thing that it sounds like both of us are working on.
Yeah, because it goes back to that thing of you can't just give out information generally. Like it actually just doesn't work that way. Or you can't just go at it being like, you're going to do the hardest thing and that's going to make you a better dancer or a better player. Like you have to play at where you're at. You have to dance at where you're at. And then from there you can grow. And as long as you're putting in your effort and trying your hardest, like that's all that matters. And that was something that I had to talk to some of my kids about this past week, because I think they were getting so in their heads about, I can't do it. Like I'm not. And it happens the most when we're doing the splits of, I'll say, okay, do the splits. And the kids who aren't down will come out of it and like pretend to be touching their shoe or something, or pretend to be like, oh, like, ow. And then I'll look over and then they'll get back into it, but then they'll wait till I look away and then they fall out of it, even though I know that they're falling out of it. And I was like, okay, guys, like I need you to not focus on the fact that you can't do it. I need you to just do it. And every time you work on it, you're gonna eventually get there, but you're just not there right now. But regardless, I need you to try, because if you don't try, then it's also like, why are you here?
Why are you here? Exactly.
And it's such a harsh thing to like say. It's a harsh thing to, I feel like, bring to their attention, but it's also like, I'm here giving my time and energy to make sure that you're going to be the greatest that you can be in whatever capacity and whatever that means to you, but I'm going to make sure that you're reaching your goals, And if a goal of yours isn't to reach the splits, great. Then awesome. We don't have to do that. But it's like, I don't know. At whatever level, you still got to try and you still got to put in effort. That is the most important thing, and it goes back to the whole growth mindset thing as opposed to the results.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. That reminded me a lot of, like, I don't know why, it literally just reminded me of this one time that I remember I was traveling with Jared and Dad for a fencing thing.
I think about that all the time.
and I feel bad because I look back and like, sure, maybe I was too hard on both of them, I guess. But like it was just, I don't know, it was just getting really frustrating because I think it's like my personal competitive nature. Like I don't know where I got it from, but I've always just wanted to win at whatever I do. And like even if I don't become professional or whatever, like in video games even, I don't care about that. I just want to win. I just want to do well, try my hardest and win. Because I don't know, like I don't know. Anyways, the point I'm making is like you said, you know, you're like, why are you here? It's like, why are you here? You know, like, what are you doing then? If you're not gonna try, what are you doing? And literally, I said that one time, I'm pretty sure, to like Jared and Dad, and I feel terrible about it, and I think I've apologized, but if not, then if they watch this, then I'm sorry. But it's like it's there was a point where Jared was kind of like getting super frustrated, losing points, all this and that, and like Dad wasn't like Dad was doing the thing where he tries to coach and it wasn't working. So then I was like, move over. Like, look at me. I don't know how to fence for anything, but I need you to just bring out some fire or something and just try, because why did we travel all the way to, I think we were in Denver maybe or something, or Texas. But why did we travel here? This is a waste of time if you don't try. At least try. At least make an effort to look like you want to win and not just fall over and let this kid beat you up. And Jared, I think, won that round and then lost later in the tournament. But like literally, like my brain was like going to mush because I was getting so angry. I was like, you'll get him next time. You'll do it next time, Jared. You got to come on. It's like, dude, like I almost like started cursing at Jared. I was like, effing, like, bro, just, I don't know how to fence. I don't know what this means. I don't know what that means, but just try, man. Like, just don't fall over and like let this kid get a free win off of you. It's so annoying. Just try. I don't care if we win. He did win, I'm pretty sure, because then we like stayed longer and then he lost. But either way, like, dude, that type of attitude literally just pisses me off. It's just like even the kids that I would like be the captain in the track team, when they're like, why are you running then? Get off of my team. Like, I don't want you here. If you're not gonna like try to at least somewhat run well, like, what are you here for? You're wasting everyone's time. Okay, and there's some people, okay, I get it. There's some people that like are being forced. Like, I don't want to play piano like half the time, and I was forced to be there. But for the people that are there for sports or whatever and competition and again, it comes down to, do you know your audience, I guess? But man, oh boy, do I get fired up about that.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. It's definitely frustrating because it's like, yeah, it at some point it's like, okay, wait, what are you trying to gain? What do you want? Are you like, we gotta figure this out, you know, because these things, these activities, it's time, you know, it's time out of your life, and if it's not benefiting you toward what you ultimately want in life, then that's something to, you know, reconsider.
The other thing too, and I'll just take a step back, is like, obviously, like you said, it's like, what are you here for and all this and that. And for some of these kids, it's just an extracurricular that they need to be active. And I get that. And like, again, you just have to come up with like, okay, can I tell that this person's just here to dance and just get some activity and movement? Okay. Not to say that you're not going to try as hard with them, but it's more like, okay, cool, I don't have to be as hard on them, versus some people are there and will tell you like, I want to be a professional dancer. I want to be a professional football player. Like, there were kids that I played football with that are now on to like playing in college, that like did play in college and like tried out to be in the NFL and stuff like that, because that's what they wanted. And they had to have like more effort and emphasis put on them, versus someone like me who was just there to play football. I never thought I'd go pro. So the coaches didn't pay as much attention to me. And for me, it's like, I don't care. That's fine. Focus on the kid that wants to be an all-star quarterback. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so
yeah, it's ultimately just like, yeah, what do you want?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Why are you here? What do you want to do?
What can we do to
How can I help you?
Exactly. What can I do to help you? Is it just fun that you need? Because if that's the case, then great. I will do less in the pushing you and try to push for more fun and just more inspiring you instead, to have fun and just let loose. But yeah, and I also think that there are some kids out there who just don't think that they can be the best, or it's just not something that they see is even possible. Because honestly, that's how I used to think when I was younger, was, oh, like, I don't know, I'm just here, and sure, maybe I'm doing things right, but I don't know if I can ever be those people who are doing the best. And it just takes a mind shift of, oh, no, I can be one of the best, and I can be up there, and I can be doing those things, and I can be going places, So once you shift that mindset to, oh, I can be like the people who I think that I cannot be, and to the people that inspire me, like, I can be that. And once you open up your mind and think, okay, I'm going to push myself and I'm going to really grow, then you can actually do it. And sometimes, yeah, it does take someone just yelling at you and kind of smacking you around and being like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing your best? I know that you can do your best because you have so much potential, and that's why I'm pushing you. And honestly, that is what I do say to my kids sometimes is, I'm giving you this because I know that you can do it. And so because I know that you can do it, I need you to try. I need you to just do your best no matter what.
Yeah, especially if you've seen it too. It's like, if you've seen like that potential shine, there's something about that where like you can tell, like, okay. And it's hard because, yeah, everyone has like their times where they're not going to be able to give 100%. But if it's 100% of whatever it is that day, if that means their 80% today is 100% for them, and you can see that, then it's like, cool. I can tell that you're feeling a little bit under the weather, or like you had a bad day, but you're still here. You showed up, and it's like, cool. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting, and it's a tough thing to manage as a teacher, as a coach, as a captain, as a whatever. But that is one of the fun challenges, though, of being in that role, for sure.
And the other thing too is, this is the great thing about going to school, is I'm taking psychology, and I'm learning that personalities really are a nature thing. There is no such thing as nature versus nurture. It's like nature is nature is triggered by nurture, It's like what you are innately born with is kind of triggered by your environment around you, if that makes sense. So it's like personalities.
Yeah.
Some things, just some people aren't born with that innate, like, I'm going to be the best. And then some people are. So, but then people have the capability of kind of shifting between the two, or just staying as they are. Like, for example, this is so strange, and very random, but temperament is something that you're born with. Like, your hot-headedness, your anger. That's not something that of course gets aggravated by your surroundings and everything, but from being like in the womb, that is something that is developing, is your temperament. Which I thought was super interesting. And it made me go, oh, so Jack is just naturally like that.
Yeah. You can't change me. You will never be able to change me.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, what happened to Jack? Jack was born like that.
I'm just born hot-headed, ready to go. I want to win, and if I lose, I get super angry, and it's game over. Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
So when I read about that, I was like, oh, okay, I understand Jack now.
See? Yeah. No, I do think the psychology stuff is really interesting. I've been getting a lot into it lately with like different podcasts and stuff like that, and hearing about all of that. So it's definitely really fascinating. I think that could be an entire episode on itself. But
yeah, I mean, I think studying psychology is a nice tool to have in life, because it's important to learn and to know and to understand ourselves better, so that we can go about the world in a more efficient way, and also just have more empathy for people. And so, yeah, that's been a really helpful tool for me when interacting with other people. But yeah.
I do kind of wish I took some sort of psychology in school, or maybe if it's like a mandatory thing at that point, just because it is really important. I agree. Like, it is super important. And like, even just general, like, first level of psychology if everyone has to take it instead of like everybody has
Totally.
to take an English class and like a math class. Like if you have to take a basic psychology class, I do see how that's super helpful for sure.
I think that basic psychology 101, 100, whatever it is, it should be a mandatory required thing that all
Yeah.
humans have to take, because this is a basic psychology class that I'm taking, and I'm already learning so much, and it is personally my favorite class, and I find myself reading all of the text. I don't want to skip anything because I don't want to miss out on any information, and it's so interesting. So,
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Well,
yeah.
definitely over time, and I feel like we could keep going, but we'll save that for the next episode. Definitely let us know if you want us to talk about whatever psychology related or even more just funny random stories about me being an angry person and always being that way. What else did we talk about? If you want to hear more about Jenna's teachings and
I was going to say,
uh
I feel like we just touched on what it's like to be a teacher and a student.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I feel like that would be like a good the student and the master, like we
yeah.
titled this episode. No, just kidding. But yeah, there's so many things, and like I said, it's because I think uh we haven't filmed in a while, so there's definitely a lot of catching up that we did, and also there's a lot of topics we could cover. So definitely let us know in the comments below what you want to hear from us in the next episode. But thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Fire and Rice Reheated. As always, you can find all of our socials in the description. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.